I don't know when it actually, oh, there we go. Okay, so it's recording. So the first thing would be, obviously I had sent you the agenda. So the introduction, so I've been working for you for, it's going to be my second year now. So obviously you know me, I'm Ms. Bugay, and I know you, you are Ms. Barza. The program goal in general is just to assist interns in learning about the profession of an administrator through practices and hands-on activities, which I think is very beneficial because I am very hands-on, and although it is virtual, I do try my best to stay involved. So then the purpose of the meeting is to describe to the mentor what the program requirements are of both the mentor and the campus leader. We are going to have 3 observations. This first observation, this recording that I'm doing now, will be turned in and will be evaluated by Dr. Torres. Our second observation, she doesn't upload the weeks until it's that specific week. So I don't have exactly what we're doing observation 2 or 3, but we will continue to discuss ongoing future projects. So I can get towards the final project. So just the overview of the practicum requirements, there are 3 videotaped observations with a total of at least 135 minutes. She advised us to do around 45 minutes, more or less, each observation. So then the reflections after the observation. So after each observation, I would discuss with the mentor the outcome of the given presentation, dialogue, or activity, which would occur after this recording. And then the activity log is supposed to include 160 hours of relevant experience that I've already started. I did have a question as far as curriculum for them, and they let me know that anything going in our hour log has to be something that we did, but we're not paid for. So yes, so curriculum wouldn't count. So I put like those PD sessions we rolled out in the beginning, the planning, any sort of PowerPoints that I put, and I'll get you a copy of that as well. So heading into the TA required observation. So there's a whole bunch of documents that I have to complete. For observation 1, I already received the signed documents that I needed from you, and I've already signed myself, so I just need to actually submit those. For observation 2, what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a presentation or kind of like a PD, a small PT, maybe during CLC or something like that for our 7th grade RLA department, so maybe during planning time for us. And I wanted to gather the student data that we'll be receiving from our weekly quizzes in RLA. And I wanted to kind of see, you know, what TEKS are we struggling with, and kind of go into our populations as far as LEP, SPED, see what we can do to assist them, because from my rosters, I can tell there's a lot of them. And then observation 3 would be for the entire RLA department. Assuming that we stay virtual, I would like to create an interactive journal. The reason I didn't want to start an interactive journal from the beginning was because the kids aren't yet familiarized with the platform, with Google Slides and all that stuff. So I kind of want to introduce them to that first, and then head into an interactive journal once I feel that they've mastered the content or the interactive journal. So I would then create the journal, present the journal, receive feedback from teachers. I'd refine everything as much as I need to make sure that it's tailored to something that they want to use in their classroom. And that way it aligns us as well, because I want and I pray for alignment within our curriculum all the time. So then I'd present that to teachers and assist in maneuvering the interactive journal for our struggling teachers who still struggle with online work. So our semester projects, and I kind of went through the beginning pretty fast because I'm very excited for our semester projects. Oh my God, very excited, and I already lost my little journal thing. So the first, where did I leave it, Audrey? The first project that I wanted to introduce, and I wanted your feedback on this, was making Alamo Middle School an empathetic school. So to me, I feel it's very important. I understand that our role as me as an aspiring administrator and you as an administrator is to essentially lead students to success in terms of like academic success. But I think that we won't be able to implement any of that unless the students feel safe in our environment first. So an empathetic school, and I did do a little research on it. An empathetic school, essentially, I put that it would include 3 components. So the first component of the empathetic school would include having it be an inclusive place, and I have my own separate notes over here. Having it be an inclusive place where the highest aspirations of democracy are consistently at work. I feel this directly aligns with Alamo Middle School because you've already implemented something similar to this. So for example, I don't remember what it was called. Did you call it the Student Advisory Board?
Committee, yes.
Yes. So that, I really liked that because I think it's important that the students have a voice in decisions that directly affect them. So were you planning to still keep doing that this?
Yes, I'm building a Google Classroom, and I'm gonna have the kids join on that. And so hopefully I can do it since we're virtual. Hopefully you guys can be able to join it at one point or another. So yeah, that's in the works, you know.
I could not forget that because I think about Joe Martinez and the leaders that we have. And they're great. They're amazing kids. It's literally astonishing. So that was the first one, making sure it's an inclusive place, and that we still follow, you know, like choosing our leaders and things like that. So the second, I guess, like definition of it would be having a community functioning as it should. So a community being our family in Alamo Middle School, functioning as it should in reference to students or even teachers who have questions or anything like that, feeling safe enough to ask their colleagues, and ensuring that we have a collaborative place in school. Because if we don't, then it's like all of our ideas are good individually, but together they're great. So I think it's important that we allow everybody to see that. And the third one is an empathetic school would be where the best of human behavior is evident every day. And what I mean by best of human behavior is how we treat others, and how we approach certain situations and our words. And something that I noticed about you, Principal Esparza, is that you are very careful with your words. And especially in the morning announcements, you pause, you think, you reflect, you say. You don't just say and then think it after, to make sure that everything that you say comes across the way you wanted it to. So that's something that I try to work at, because I know sometimes you think, I know I do it, like I think of something and it comes out. And it's like, I understand as an administrator, I must sit, think, and then act.
Yes. Consider your audience also. Yes. That's a very big portion of it. Consider your audience, you know.
Yes. So we definitely do. Or at least I know I try to. So the reason that I wanted to kind of make Alamo Middle School an empathetic school is because I've done research through because I majored in psychology, so I do have like a lot of research under my belt, and although psychology was my initial aspiration, once I switched over to education, I made sure to bridge that gap by continuing to research with education. So my main thing, again, is building a collaborative school and an empathetic school. So we're already born with kindness and compassion in us. From the research that I've done, it's just that those dispositions need to be nurtured over time, so they need to be constantly reiterated, especially now with our kids. So then I gathered some facts together. So I gathered that stress and negative associations impair learning. And I see it a lot in our students who are prone to panic attacks and prone to anxiety attacks and things like that. They're so worried about not spazzing out during class that they just completely miss the lecture. Another one that I found was that emotion surpasses cognition. So I'm not very good at the science portion. That's, Mr. Puga's aspect, but I tried with this one. As far as emotion surpasses cognition, I mean, the students begin to feel something so strong. And when I say that, when I say emotion, I'm talking about how the students feel in school, not even at home, but in school. Sometimes students feel intimidated, not only by teachers, but even their peers. So it's important that the learner tries their best, or the learner strays away from feeling threatened. So I found that when the learner feels threatened, it's unlikely that part of the brain will function as it should in order to retain the information that is provided to them. So I think that's a big one. And then the next fact, and I am going to ask you to give me some feedback after I'm done with the facts. The next fact is that the brain is quick to tune into threat, but it's slow to forget it. So just an example, let's say we have Mrs. I don't know, Mrs. Salinas, right? A hypothetical person, and she's in the hallway and she's in a bad mood and she ends up yelling at a kid in the hallway, and then the next year that student has her as a teacher. He already feels threatened. So it's highly likely that he's not going to work for her because of what he already felt prior. So then the last one that this is my favorite one, is that the brain is a social organ. So close supportive relationships enhance learning, right? So I would want kids to have those close relationships with other peers, preferably, although teachers are always there to assist. I do want them to have that relationship with other peers because they are in the same age group and it's easier for them to make connections. So I don't know what and I have the details of everything in a bit, but I don't know what you think as far as creating Alamo Middle School as an empathetic school.
I think that's great. That's something that we strive for always, you know. Yeah. I don't know that everyone ever sets out, you know, to do those things. But in my experience, having been 7 Habits of Highly Effective People certified and having gone through the training and going through the Leader in Me training, that type of environment is where students thrive. And so without having done that here, taking some of those principles have been infused in it in the last, you know, 3-4 years. And so we've seen an increase in enrollment, and we've seen teachers feel good about themselves, you know, through this process. So some of the things that I was going to ask you is, as you considered this, you obviously took what your major, you know, was in at the university, and so you know the science part of that, you know, and so you feel that that's very important. When you're dealing with children and you're dealing with adults, because the communication is going to be with adults, what are things that you're thinking about as to how you would want to implement this and roll this out to teachers? You know, you thought about how you're going to express this to them?
Yes. So as far as rolling it out to teachers, I would like to survey teachers first, random teachers, to kind of get a better understanding of what they feel AMS is about as far as empathy. And not even just that, but even school culture. I know our mission and vision for Alamo Middle School deals with, I didn't memorize it, but something about emerging, creating students that were going to, you know, be a big part of society and, you know, all that stuff. So I would like to survey teachers first, kind of ask them basic questions as far as what has your experience at Alamo Middle School been like with your staff members? Is there anything you feel that can be implemented in order to increase collaboration between colleagues, things like that? So I would like to survey them first to get their feedback on it first, to even see if enough teachers feel that we have that need.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me offer a little bit of some feedback on that. So you might want to make sure that when you're looking at your sample, you're going to look for teachers who have been here for, you know, more than 10, 15 years. Then you're going to have to look for some that have been here, you know, within that middle ground of maybe, you know, the 5 to 10 years. You're going to also want to get the brand new teachers who have been here that have 0 years, and then maybe even 1 and 2. So the ones who have been here will automatically tell you that they felt that the culture has shifted only because of conversations, you know, that we know. So that would give you a really good idea as to what the consensus is, you know, with the staff. And then your questions, just thinking about what is it that you're wanting them to think about. So you're wanting them to think about, you know, what has Alamo Middle School done, you know, in the last few years? What is it that you're feeling, you know, at this point? So your questions are going to have to be very specific so that it's gearing towards this project that you would want, right? That would probably give you a better, you know, indication on how this would roll out.
Right.
And you're going to be surprised, you know, probably of what they'll tell you, just in the conversations, I've had, and you've been here, this is year 2, the things have shifted, so it's going to be very interesting, to see. Are you thinking of keeping this a very short type of survey, like 5 questions and less, or are you thinking to get a bit better, you need to get to like maybe 10 questions?
Honestly, I have not thought about that. I think there's a lot of things that might shift my answer. Also, maybe when I start this project would be one of them. If it's right before benchmarks, anything like that, the last thing I would want to do is take the time away from teachers. I would obviously have to make it shorter. I also want to think about the teachers that are willing to assist me if I choose to do like a long survey or like, several sessions. So those are things I do need to think about. For as far as students, so what I wanted to do to implement with the teachers is I wanted to kind of roll it out to them in a professional development session where I'm able to list the facts that I was giving you, because I just feel like research-based data would really solidify where I come from, and why I want to implement this in the school. So towards the end of the PD session, I would want to set some small goals, as like maybe each teacher in a 1 week span to make sure that they give at least 10 positive affirmations to students. Some small goals like that, and obviously celebrate those goals, and then slowly increase them. So that's what I think
will be the key. Yes, that's really good. Something that's quick and easy for them to do, and they can get it becomes second nature for them, and they stay on target, so consistency will always be the key.
Yeah, so that's what I was planning as far as teachers. So right now for this first observation, it's just kind of us laying out a plan, and then I'm assuming once the project gets closer, we'll start working on the details. So that's what I had as far as teachers. For students, I would like to survey students as well. I just don't know how to reach. I know I could get them through forms. I can probably do a phone survey. My thing is I don't know how to reach kids with different experiences. Maybe randomized?
You could do a random sample, but when you're looking at that, you kind of want to see that you're getting a population, a sample population that is going to be true to the entire population, if that makes sense. That could be something that we can look at, and we've got some demographic data, and we can get like our PEIMS department involved, can help you through that process, and getting you the access to do that, and of course, within the rights of getting the parent permissions and things like that. So yes, those details can work out.
Yes, perfect. That stress off my shoulders. As far as implementing with students, I really want to do it in ways that it is not just surveying students, but when we actually presented to students individually in classrooms, if we ever get to that point, I don't just want to do a basic slideshow. I want to do something that is going to be impactful. So what I'm looking at now is finding, and my second project feeds into this, finding a type of motivational speaker who's willing to create a video for us that is going to be impactful to students. I don't want it a motivational speaker like somebody like who's known nationally, anything like that. I would like to get a motivational speaker that maybe is one of our teachers, or maybe is one of our students who, whose life was changed because somebody was kind to them. So that's what I would want to do as far as students. And then that's just basically to gather the data would be the surveying, and then the implementing would have more details in it. Leading into my second project, and I don't think we have to do two, but I think it's important that I do the second one, which ties into, I would like to do an anti-bullying program. And I've kind of already worked to the details of it. Some of the things that we could do as a school besides the anti-bullying program, I know it's something that you've already kind of done, which is, I would call it a greater program. So it would be, I don't know if you recall, I don't know when it was, but we were all in the front, like the cheerleaders were in the front, the band was playing, just kind of getting students excited to come to school and know that they are welcomed here by their peers and by their teachers.
Anybody that knows me, we always like to throw big things here at Alamo. So yes, it was one of the many things that we did, right? I think it was probably at the beginning was our million Father March, and along with our expos that we did. So yes, I think that's a great, idea to get that going. Is that what you were thinking?
Yes, maybe not so big because I understand that'll be very overwhelming every day, but maybe even just having a student, like for example, our student Job, maybe just having him in the front, opening the doors for people saying good morning. I think that would really make a difference because these students are going to see that they have someone here in school who is welcoming them. And It's not a teacher or an administrator, because students think that when we do things, it's because we were told to do them and not that it comes from the kindness of our heart. I don't know if that makes sense. Like if we're in the front doing duty, they think that it's like you're doing duty because they told you to do duty, not because you want to be here with us. Right. Yeah. So I would like to stray away from that thinking. And I think it would help if we implement the students. Awesome. Another thing that I think we can do as a school, and obviously these are just ideas, I would call it a wayfinders, which would be our leaders, our 7th and 8th grade leaders, kind of serving as mentors for some incoming 6th graders. I'm not quite sure how I would pan that out as far as what students would be selected or whether it would be a group. I don't know, but I know that entering middle school is scary as a 6th grader, and especially entering middle school now virtually where you don't know anyone, and then showing your face. I'm sure it is difficult for them. And I think that a mentor program would be really well. And like we had initially talked about what did you call it? The committee? What was it called?
The student advisory committee?
Yes. So the student advisory committee would essentially be the mentors. So we would have someone from band mentoring another 6th grader from band. We would have a 8th grade badgerette mentoring a 6th grade badgerette, things of that nature. Definitely. So now going into the bullying program, which I do have more points on that one because that was one of the things I was really excited about. So essentially the goals would be to raise awareness of the role that a group plays in maintaining bullying. So I did do research on that as well. And my research showed that although people say that there is safety in numbers, there is not safety in numbers, because what happens is, let's say that there's a whole bunch of students. For example, when there's a fight at school, we know that students gather around. That's a whole lot of students, but nobody's stepping in. And it's because everybody has that mentality that, well, there's so many people here. If I don't do it, somebody else will. And I think it's important that we allow students to feel like there is safety in numbers by teaching our students that you cannot just be a bystander, that it's important that you speak up, and you can't have that, well, if I don't do it, somebody else will, because there's so many people here mentality. So that was one of the things that really, struck me with this. Another one was obviously a goal was to increase empathy. Another goal would be to promote strategies to support the victim. Because a lot of times anti-bullying programs focus on just not bullying, just don't bully. But it's like, it's going to happen, unfortunately. And it's important that we create strategies to support the victim as far as giving them or increasing their coping skills. Because these kids are unpredictable sometimes. I'm not sure what you think as far as that.
I think those two projects kind of go hand in hand. One of the things that we found over the years through anti-bullying initiatives and programs have been that we also need to work on the bully, and once we've identified, and that as an administrator for so many years, it seems like any reports that we get, the parent that will come in or the student that will come in, they use that term very loosely, and sometimes it's not bullying, but a parent wants for the administrator to know it is bullying, and so the state provides guidance. You can look at the Texas State Safety Center. has a lot of information on anti-bullying programs. It's through Texas State University, and it's
That's
I
my
forget
alma mater.
yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
The gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he puts on, you go into it and it gives you so much information. There's videos, you know, that they have out there. But I think also sometimes we forget that sometimes the bullies are victims themselves.
Yes.
They've just coped through their situations by now. They were a victim one way, and so now they're going to turn this other way, and now they're going to be a bully, you know, and so that cycle continues. So I think it's a very important program. I think that the district, the state, nationally, globally, we've been trying to, you know, get that message out. So if there's things that we can do that we can reach more students, I think, you know, that would be great. We can work out the details and we can see, you know, how we're going to start. But a lot of it has to do with education. And I think you're right there, you know, in thinking about the psyche. And it's because it lends very, very much to what you were working through in college. So I think using that knowledge, bringing it into education is going to do a lot of, you know, great things for us. And so we'll support you through the process. And as you and I'm going to speak to both programs, as you start to construct questions and things like that, you know, I'll help and guide you, because sometimes we have to look at the way that we're getting that information out. One of the other pieces that I was going to tell you, with anything that we do, we've got to consider our audience. We've got to know that what we want to say out is what the person is actually going to interpret. And so we've got to think about, you know, those things sometimes. What place is the person mentally? You mentioned, like, the last thing I would do is give a survey to a teacher right before benchmark, because they're not in that place. You know, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about that benchmark. You know, so those are some of the things that we will consider. But I think you're already thinking that way. You know, and some of the things that I heard from your communication today is that you're aware that teachers have different anxiety levels throughout the year, and so we want to make sure that it's very fruitful when we're giving this information. But of course, you know, we will work together through that.
And it all, again, it's all in my head right now, but I would like to create it as a multi-layered approach to address individual, classroom, and school level factors.
Okay.
Because I know it wasn't that long that I was in high school, and I know that bullying happens in the classrooms, in the hallways, and on the bus. So it's like, you know, sometimes you can't get away from it. So I was thinking, I wouldn't want to make it like an extensive program, because I understand, especially this year, that we don't have time for a lot of those things. So I would like to make it, you know, kind of condensed. I was thinking maybe creating, again, just throwing out a number, maybe 10 lessons. Each lesson would be constructed around a theme. That theme would then be associated as a rule. And then as a class or a school or department, whatever, we would then adopt that as a class rule. And towards, let's say we do 10 lessons. So all 10 lessons would have 10 different themes, and those themes would turn into rules. And then at the end, those rules would turn into a contract that we would have students sign and abide by. And, you know, it's something that we can constantly reiterate to them. You know, like, remember you signed that contract.
Yes, and that would be good, because from my understanding, like, as you're constructing these, is it going to be students who have basically given a voice, like, you know, what they would be part of the drafting of these, and so if they have some voice in it, they can sit in it. So I think that's, you know, a great idea. You know, the more that they're a part of it, it becomes more true to themselves, you know. So yes, definitely so. And I know we have to consider the factors of we're in a virtual world, and so things are a little bit, you know, not as easy as it would be if we were in the building. But I think that it's still something that you can start in a small way, get very impactful in that. And then who knows, as you go through, it can grow and gravitate, towards the entire campus. So very good.
And because we are virtual, I think it's important. I know I have my Google site up, and I know I spent a lot of time on it, but I also know that it does have a lot of resources. So I think it would be cool if I was able to create a website where students can seek help through that website, because a lot of the times, I know we open our doors. I know we tell our students they can talk to us. I know we can give our students a million numbers for them to call, but they're just not going to do it because they just don't want to go talk to an adult. Or they're even just scared. It's just so, I don't even know what the word is, embarrassing. I don't know, but I think that if we were to create a website and kind of create, on my website, I don't know if you saw, I have this parent concern form. So the parent concern form would tell me, like parents, what your relationship to the child, who is your child, and what is your concern. Give me a way to contact you and I will get back to you regarding your concern. I think if we do a forms like that for the website, that could help too. Like, do you want us asking for their name? What is going on? Would you like to speak? I think it's important also that we give them an option, which leads me to my next point. Giving them an option as to talking to a boy adult, like a man, or talking to a woman. Because as boys obviously tend to relate more to boys, and girls tend to relate more to boys. And I know as a girl, sometimes you don't always feel comfortable talking to a man about things that they might not understand. So that was one thing. And I also think, and this one's a big one for me, I also think it's very important to involve stakeholders, because essentially they're the ones at home with the kids, and because they're their parents, I wouldn't like to know me as a person. Let's say that a student comes and tells me, so this so-and-so is bullying me. I would like for that parent of the student who came to me to know what's going on. I wouldn't feel right if I knew and the parent didn't know. So I think that maybe, I don't know if we have PT meetings still. I don't know if that's a thing. I know we had them when I was in high school, where the parents would come, and maybe I'd be able to create a PowerPoint for them, kind of show them, or maybe email it out to them or post it on our Facebook page, anything, to show them that we're a part of this and that we stand behind their children, right?
Yes.
So then that would lead into creating I guess like an anti-bullying team. I don't quite have a catchy name for it yet, but it'll probably start with a B for Badgers.
Yeah.
And then that team would be set in place. It would be, I don't know, haven't figured that out yet, but maybe whoever reached out to us, we'd be able to meet with, I don't want to say the victim, but we'd be able to meet with the student several times throughout the year. We don't want to just meet with them once and then, okay, we fix your problem by, like, I think it would have to be, we have to keep reaching out to them, making sure that they're still okay. How are they coping with everything? Like checking in on them often.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know what kind of feedback you can provide as far as that. I know it's very difficult right now with this whole virtual thing.
I think as you're starting, the way that you have some of those forms, I think that you can start to feel that out as to how it's happening. And maybe as you are conducting some of these surveys, maybe you can find out, if there's some issues and who they would want to speak to. I think we have the advisory period. As you know, this year, our district is working a lot with the social emotional learning component. And so right now, virtually, we have those 20 minutes, but I know that this could help a lot if we had some of those lessons. Now, our district does have some, so I would have our counselors maybe send those to you, and maybe we can use some of those.
Yes,
I know last year.
They're the counseling and guidance sessions that we did last
year. Which is last year. I don't know if they've been updated now because of this, the newer component piece to it. I know also last year when Mr. Guisar, our Gear Up facilitator, was here, he was implementing he had I guess it was a program, computer-based, and I believe it was called Tessera. But that one had a little bit more of lessons that had to do with grit and determination and things like that. Some things that they were wanting to zero in with students. But I think part of it also had some of these components that you're talking about, with the bullying. you know, when a child feels bullied, when a child doesn't feel safe at the campus, there's not going to be any learning. So there's some things that do need to happen, you know, before it. And sometimes as adults, you know, we're the last ones to know.
Yes.
So I think that as you're going through these pieces, I think that whether you're starting at a small level, you know, or wanting to go into like across the grade level, or how it decides that this is going to unfold, I think it's still going to make impact, you know, for those particular children. So I think as you're moving forward, it's just kind of ironing out those details, you know.
Yes.
And like I mentioned, we can help you with that. And since that it has a little bit of this component, we can also enlist the help of our counselors as well.
I think that the big idea would essentially be making Alamo Middle School an empathetic school. And that actually is a thing. I came up with it, like I thought about it and then I actually Googled it. It's an actual thing where you can be an empathetic school. I did not know that. And I think it's important because, I mean, for obvious reasons, but mainly because of the type of students that we serve, because we serve low income students, and they're the ones that are more prone to either get bullied or bully. And then there's just, you know, the financial stress, even on them, even though they don't have bills, but seeing their parents struggle can take a toll on them. And it's just, I just think mental health for our kids, especially now day and age, that kids just self-diagnose themselves with depression and all this stuff. And it's just, they kind of psych themselves out little by little.
It's part of the culture also. And it's our job to kind of get them to see that there is more past what is within their own world, you know, but they won't see that unless we bring them, you know, to it. So it's important that we're doing those things.
Right. Again, these are just drafts. I did want to ask you, I'm not sure, I will have to double check with Dr. Torres, but should I change my project because of our current situation with the whole COVID thing? What is it that you as a principal feel, and I know you probably might not have a concrete answer right now, but you as a principal feel would or is needed in our campus, even if it deals with data, like, you know, test scores and all that stuff, just because I wanted to, I know we have some people in the program that their project is dealing with, you know, increasing scores.
Of course.
But because of my psychology background, I went more towards the opposite route.
Yes, the social emotional well-being, which is very important. So everything is important. I will just bring you back to the last conversation we had as far as with our McCrell. I don't know if you remember, it feels probably like it was a long time ago. But one of the things that we'd like to focus on is bridging what we do in the classrooms, what we're having teachers teach about, and what our first goal was going to be for our McCrell. And we talked about standard 4E, and that was the critical thinking component. And under that critical thinking component, there was 8 criteria that we have to hit in order to get to that accomplished. So as we looked at it, you know, because I did everybody's summative evaluation. So and it was a great experience for me because I got to see where everybody was at in that very important standard. So one of the things that we're going to be working on is going to be, and maybe this is something that, you know, you and the other member that we have as that's also a mentee. How are we going to bridge the two? How are we going to make sure that we're implementing the critical thinking in the PE classes? And what is that going to look like? And what is that going to look like in our life skills units? And what is that going to look like in an Algebra 1 geometry class, you know, where our pre-AP kids are sitting in. So critical thinking is important across the board, you know, but our teachers are measured by the McCrell instrument. And it's very, very important that students are practicing these 8 components. You know, we can't hit 8 components every single day, right? But we can work them and embed them in through our daily instructions so that it's something that we're constantly hitting. So that was going to be some of the learning that we were going to be doing this year, is taking Alamo to that next, step. And that's where we want to get to that A. We've been at the B status the last couple of years. And so that's a very important skill that we need to have, so that's something that we can look at.
What standard did you say that was? Standard
4E.
I don't know how you remember everything. I don't know how you remembered the donuts with dad or whatever, the $1 Million Father. I don't know how your memory works like that.
My memory goes, I don't know what I'm going to do, because right now I still have a good memory.
That's crazy. You said standard and I was like, oh, she's going to say just, that standard we discussed. No, standard 4E.
4E.
I need to get my memory up. I need to start reading. Another thing that I was going to say, what was I going to say? So I do recall you saying that you wanted this to be our goal for everyone, right?
For everyone.
When you say critical thinking, can you kind of give me an overview for that, or kind of define it, or what you would consider as critical thinking?
That is going to be the work that we need to do, because we're going to need to define it as to what that looks like for a PE teacher, for an English language arts teacher, for a science teacher. So our students, we want to get to the point where our students understand that that's an expectation. That when we come to school, whether it's in, behind brick and mortar or virtually, right? That there's critical thinking involved, and it doesn't matter what we're doing. So that's going to be the work that we're going to do. We're going to be doing those exercises through our CLCs, so that we're going to define it as a department, and what is that going to look like? And so I know that in McCrell, teachers have 3 goals that they're working towards. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we're going to do is, the first one's going to be a campus goal. It's going to be a teacher goal, right? But it's going to be a campus goal. The second one is going to be true to the department. And then the third one is going to be an individual goal. So I don't know if you remember in our exit interview where we spoke about that we were going to look at the teacher and say that, this teacher is very much involved in the last standards, when it deals with leadership. But you know what? It's happening just in the classroom. So we need to work with this teacher to bring it out into the campus or the grade level department. So that's going to be that teacher's individual goal. So the way that we'll break it down is, the first goal is campus, the second one is department, and the third one will be an individual. The consensus I got from all teachers when I had that exit interview with them is that they finally had what they thought was an idea and a plan for what they were going to be working with. And they felt that if the campus goal, they felt that that was going to be a little bit easier because they're all working towards that goal, which is very important, critical thinking, right? Which is very important on our STAR or TELPUS or whatever it is, whatever assessment that we're taking, whether it's a benchmark or the weekly assessment. And then the second one is going to be whether or not, what does our department need to work on? And so that may look different from an English language arts, perspective to the mathematics department, to the fine arts, department. So, and then that third one is very specific to the teacher. So that could be something that you can help, because it's going to take a lot of communication and working in groups through our CLCs.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you made it that way in terms of first school, campus, second department, third individual, because it really aligns us. Instead of all of us having super different goals, we're striving towards the same thing. I love that. I never even thought about that. Well, I mean, I remember we discussed it, but my memory and yours totally different.
That's okay. We work together, so that we can remember those. But you know what? I think some of the other perspectives that we got from some teachers were that they felt they weren't going to be working in isolation. We're supposed to be aligned, our arrows moving in the same direction. And that's when the momentum happens. That's when the great things start to happen, whenever everybody has their own style and everybody else has their own thoughts, but it's how do we get everybody talking the same language to make sure that our kids are successful, so we will work through those.
Yes. Okay. Just let me do that here. So I think that's basically, let me see. So complete observation by discussing the future dates and projects that will be approaching. These are my future projects. This first observation was just me kind of letting you know what I have in mind. Again, I'm going to ask Dr. Torres because although I do think empathy is very important, and I try myself to be empathetic towards others and understanding, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. I think it's important that there's always someone willing to help, and there's always someone who, and our new teacher, our new 6th grade math teacher embodies that perfectly. And me and her have just been virtually holding hands since she started here.
Yes.
She's awesome. So that's, and I'm happy she's here because I know that she will help me with this empathetic part, because herself, she's very nice and she's very big on this. Should I choose to change it, I will try my best. If that other teacher that is also in the program does not take it first, I will try to align it kind of to the critical thinking component, because I think that I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone in that one, because I feel like even if it didn't become my project, I would still in some way be involved in that. So it would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yes, so definitely so.
Okay, so I think that any comments that you may have for me?
You did great. You've got a lot of thought, a lot of obviously a lot of great thinking has become involved. You're trying to cultivate something that's important, that you feel passionate about, and that's one of the things that you're gonna find in administration. You know, not every day is a good day in administration. You know, there's some days where you feel like, oh my God, what did I do today? You know, and then you're gonna find other days that are very rewarding. And so and I keep saying this, you know, it's getting people to understand why you do things. You know, you heard me say that yesterday. The more that we can explain to people, when we can, why we're doing something, the what falls into place, you know, and so it no longer becomes something where they're attacking, you know, that maybe the only thing that they're saying is, well, you know, maybe I have a suggestion to make it better. So that's some of the things that we're always working on. Communication is very important. So some of those pieces, you know, incorporate that. Because what I'm thinking of here may not be what's coming out here. Yes. And that's what's important. You know, you're always having to think about those things. And then you always have to link it to data. So you've done a lot of that thinking, and it's evident, you know, that you're very thoughtful, practical in what you're doing, but you're also very passionate. And so that we can't teach, you know, that's got to come, you know, from here. And so we know that you're very important to the team. You came on last year, and I had all the teachers. I know that you were in a team of just men, and they all said, "Man, I don't know what we would do without Miss Puga, because she gets us in line." And I said, "Yes, I know, I know." So, you know, being organized is very important as well. So you've got a lot of skills that you're going to be able to develop, you know, as you go through the process. And of course, you always know that you can call me, text me, you know, in anything that you need. And I know that working with through Dr. Torres, I know Dr. Torres, so I know she's very thorough, very understanding, and you're going to learn a lot, you know, so very excited for you to go through this. This is a program that's how long? 6 weeks? 7 weeks?
Practicum is 7 weeks. So we're in week 3 already. I don't know how, but we're in week 3 already.
Wow, that went quick. That went quick. Okay, so we got to get things moving and shaking.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being willing to meet with me today and for giving me your feedback. I will definitely take everything that you said into consideration. I will see if there's a way that I can align my project. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 that I have to complete, or if the second one's optional. But align it to something that we're doing in campus because of our current situation. And then should the district change and go face to face, then I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Awesome. I think a lot of great things will come, you know, through this, you know, so okay. We'll learn through the process as well. So let me know if you need anything.
Will do. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sparsa.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.